just a moment, Suspense with Ida Lupino.
Phew, what a night.
Yeah, it's a scorcher, Dad.
You're lucky we thought of coming to the firehouse. And we'd had to sit around at that hen party your mother's giving. Hello, Mike.
Hello, Hap.
Say, you fellas want to put out a fire tonight, all you've got to do is turn the hoses on and squirt them anywhere.
Yep, it's hotter than Hades. We're all sitting here listening to the radio.
Dad, I wonder if they're listening to the Autolite show.
What are you hearing, Mike?
We're just switching to Autolite. Besides, we like their batteries, spark plugs, and ignition systems around here.
Everyone does. And everyone likes their show, Suspense.
Oh, here's the show.
Suspense. Autolite and its 60,000 dealers and service stations bring you radio's outstanding theater of thrills. Starring tonight, Miss Ida Lupino in a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Today, everybody's switching to Autolite. And tonight, Autolite takes pleasure in presenting
Anton Leader's production of Ray Bradbury's remarkable story, Summer Night, starring Miss Ida Lupino.
Is the line still busy? I just don't see how it could still be.
Oh, it isn't the line, Miss McCauley. It's the circuit. I've been simply swamped all afternoon. I haven't been able to get a call through to the police station for over an hour, and the mayor's office has been busy.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry to trouble you, but it's terribly important.
Well, if you want to hang on, Miss McCauley, I'll try again in a minute.
Oh, all right.
It's been this way ever since the news got out about finding poor Lavinia. You heard about it, I suppose.
Yes.
Oh, just a minute, Miss McCauley. I got another call. Yes, this is the operator. No, I'm sorry. That line is still busy. Yes, I'll call you just as soon as I can give you a connection. Oh, I'm sorry, Miss McCauley, but you see what I mean? Oh, dear.
Oh, Miss Welsh, by the way...
It was bad enough last week when they found that other poor girl, but this time the whole town is on its ear, and I can't say that I blame them, what with a maniac loose and nobody knowing who
Yes,
it
I
might
meant
be.
to ask you, Miss Welsh. Are they sure that Lavinia... I mean, that it was the same thing as the Webb girl last week?
Why, yes. Why, I thought you knew.
I just knew she'd been found.
Oh, goodness, yes. There was never any doubt about it. Whoever it was, he used a knife just like on the other girl. And then there was that same crazy cross on a forehead, you know, made with orange lipstick. That's why they're calling him, you know, the lipstick killer.
Oh, yes. As I thought it must be that. But I wasn't sure. I didn't know.
Oh, yes, they're looking all over the state for him by now. But, of course, they don't have much to go on. And the chances are that he's right here in this town anyway. Oh, I'll try to get your call for you now, Miss McCauley.
Thank you.
Oh. I'm sorry, Miss McCauley. That circuit is still busy.
But it can't...
Well, why don't I call you back when I get through? It shouldn't be very long.
All right. But please try to hurry it. It's really important. Terribly important. While I was waiting for the call, I went to the front door to start locking up. It was coming on evening, a warm summer evening, and ordinarily up and down the street the windows would be open, all but mine, and you'd hear the sound of a piano or a radio drifting out onto the still summer air, and people would be sitting in swings and hammocks on their front porches, enjoying the coolness at the end of the day. But not on this day. Not this evening. I locked my door, too. I went around the big, gloomy old house, checking all the windows, just like the others. Not that I needed to, really. They'd been locked ever since Father died. And he went away. All in that one terrible week nearly 4 years ago. Yes, they'd been locked, and I hadn't left the house more than a half a dozen times, and nobody had come here. Why should they? I didn't want to see them, nor they me. I was the town's queer one. But all that was going to be different now. From now on, everything was going to be very, very different. Yes.
I've
Hello?
got your party now, Miss Macaulay. Go ahead, please.
Oh.
Hello?
Oh, Helen, is that you?
Yes, who's this?
It's Anna. Anna Macaulay.
Why, Anna. Why, what a surprise.
How have you been, Helen?
Oh, just fine. You know, there's nothing ever the matter with me. But how are you, Anna?
Oh, I'm well. You know, I've been living rather quietly these last few years.
Yes, I know. I mean, I'd heard.
It's been a long time, hasn't it, Helen?
Why, yes. I haven't heard your voice for, well, how long has it been?
Nearly 4 years.
Has it?
3 years and 11 months this week, to be exact.
Oh, that long has it? Well, it doesn't seem possible, and we were such good friends.
Helen, I hope you don't think. I mean, those last few times you called and I didn't answer.
Oh, darling, of course not. I knew how you must be suffering, your father passing on so suddenly that way, and you'd always been so close. I wouldn't have even bothered you at such a time, only that we'd been such good friends, and I thought maybe I could help. And then, of course, I heard later anyway that, well, that is,
Yes, I suppose you must have heard some rather strange things about me, Helen.
Oh, not strange, dear, no. But we all knew you wanted to be alone in your grief, and we respected that feeling naturally.
I know. But sometimes I've been afraid people didn't quite understand, though.
Of course they did. Well, darling, now that you're back in the world again, so to speak, you must come over and see me. I'm staying with my mother now, but you know that anyway.
Yes. Helen.
Yes, dear.
Helen, it wasn't just an accident, my calling you this way.
Well, I should hope not.
I want to ask you a favor. A tremendous favor.
Why, of course, darling, anything.
I want you to come over here to the house.
I should say I would. I'll try to make it Friday or early next week at the latest, just as...
No, I don't mean just sometime, Helen. I mean now. Right now. Right this minute.
Now?
Yes.
But, darling, I don't see how I can. I mean, I don't know what Mother's plans are.
Helen, you know I wouldn't ask if it wasn't serious.
Serious? What do you...
Please say you'll come.
Well, I'll try.
No, don't just try, Helen. Come. You've got to come.
Oh, darling, what is this? What can be so serious?
Maybe I'm being silly, but I think it's more than serious, Helen. I think it may be a matter of life and death.
For Suspense, Autolite is bringing you Miss Ida Lupino in Summer Night, Autolite's presentation of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
You know, Dad, boy, Mom would sure get a kick out of this.
Out of what, Billy?
We leave home because she's got the house full of women, and so far there aren't anything but women in tonight's Autolite show.
Well, if she's listening, we'll certainly hear about it when we get home from the firehouse. Oh, say, Mike, what's over on that workbench?
But over there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, them's old batteries. We're replacing them with new Autolite stayfuls.
When your spark plug stutters, when your battery putters.
Switching to Autolite, eh, Mike?
No, we've been using Autolite for over 10 years now. You know, when you got to get out of here in 7 seconds after the alarm sounds, you got to have the surest, safest batteries there are. When we got to go, we go.
Yes, the new Autolite Stay Full battery is a great battery. Needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use. This greater liquid reserve practically eliminates one of the major causes of battery failure. Car owners tell us it's the greatest battery ever built. The greatest battery ever built. Money cannot buy a better battery for your car.
Yep, that's real battery know-how. Once water goes into an Autolite Stayful, it's like going into a camel. The drinks are few and far between.
Yeah, and even on nights as hot as this, you don't find the Autolite Stay Full at an old oaken bucket.
So, friends, see your friendly neighborhood Autolite battery dealer and order the new Autolite Stay Full battery for your car. It needs water only 3 times a year in normal car use. Remember, folks, Autolite means batteries.
Stay full batteries.
Autolite means spark plugs.
Ignition-engineered spark plugs.
Autolite means ignition system.
The lifeline of your car. And now,
Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Miss Ida Lupino as Anna in Summer Night, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
A matter of life and death, I told her. I knew Helen would come to see me after that. It would be strange seeing her again. Not that we'd ever quarreled. She never even suspected, of course. But after that day when he went away with her, I'd simply put her out of my life and never thought of her again. Or to be strictly truthful, I'd thought of her a great deal, but in a rather different way than I had before when she'd been my best friend. And now she was coming to my house again. After all these years. It should be interesting. Quite like a surprise party for both of us.
Anna, darling.
Helen, come in.
Oh, it's so nice to see you.
It's good to see you again, Helen.
Why, you haven't changed a bit. You don't look a day older. Now, tell me all about it. I can't stay but a few minutes. Ted Barton drove me over. You remember Ted.
Oh, yes.
And he's got to be back before 7, but never mind that now. Darling, what is the matter?
Helen, I'm frightened.
Frightened? Of what?
I'm afraid I'm going to be killed.
Going to be killed?
Yes, tonight.
But, darling...
You see, I used to know poor Lavinia. I used to know her quite well. And the other girl, well, I didn't know her, but it happened to her right near here, in the little woods just beyond the tracks.
Anna, please, dear, what on earth makes you think anything like that could happen to you? You're perfectly safe if you don't go out. Lock the door.
No, I'm not. I'm all alone here, Helen. And there's been someone prowling at night.
A man?
Last night he tried to get in.
Are you sure?
I heard him trying the doors, the windows.
Well, did you call the police?
No, I was afraid to. Oh, Helen, I didn't know who to turn to but you. Everyone thinks I'm crazy anyway.
Oh, Anna, dear, that's ridiculous. Well, we'll call them right now.
No, it'll be all right after tonight. I know it will. Please, I just want you to stay with me tonight.
Stay with you?
Please, Helen, just this one night. I can't ask anyone else. I don't have any friends anymore.
But, darling, I don't even have any nightclothes.
Oh, I'd already thought of that, Helen. I have everything you need for tonight.
Well, I don't have anything for the morning. No face cream, not even a
Why
toothbrush.
worry about that now? Maybe neither of us will even be here by morning. So she said she'd stay. Went out and told Ted Barton. Ted Barton. It was typical of Helen. Only 2 weeks back from Cleveland, and already she had the county's most eligible bachelor squiring her around in his car. But that was going to be different, too. I fixed a little supper for both of us, and then we tried all the doors and windows. And then there was nothing to do but sit and talk to her until it was time to go to bed.
No more, thank you.
Afraid it will keep you awake, Helen?
I'm afraid I won't need coffee to keep me awake. Anna, is it true? I mean what they say about these murders.
Is what true?
Well, I mean...
You've been out in the world, Helen, more than I have lately. You should know more than I.
Oh, well, all I meant was... Well, you seem so frightened. I thought you might have heard something special.
No.
Is it true about the lipstick?
Why not?
Oh, it sounds so crazy. I thought it might be just something the newspapers made up.
There was a cross on their foreheads. In lipstick. Orange lipstick.
Anna, you do know something.
Don't be ridiculous, Helen. How could I?
But lipstick, Anna. Do you suppose perhaps it isn't a man at all? It's a woman. Oh, I'm sorry, dear. Did I do that?
No. No, come along, Helen. It's time to go to bed.
Yes, I suppose we might as well.
You don't mind sleeping in the same room with me, do you?
Why, of course not, dear. Oh, shouldn't you leave on a light downstairs?
No. Didn't do any good last night.
Oh. Well, I must say I don't blame you for being a little frightened, staying here all alone. It's rather a gloomy old place, isn't it?
Oh, I don't think so. It's always been like this. It's the way Father liked it.
What about your mother?
I hated my mother.
Oh, Anna.
Well, it's true. Why not say it?
But your own mother.
What does that matter? Everyone has to have someone to hate, Helen. Enough to kill them sometimes.
Oh, Anna, I don't think that's true. How can you say that everyone...
Well, this is our room.
Why,
It's what?
it's charming. It's so different from the rest of the house.
Yes. This was to be my bridal room, if I'd ever married.
Darling, I didn't know... Well, I didn't know you'd ever thought...
That was a long time ago. What's the news of Charles?
Charles. Well, there just isn't any. You knew we were separated, didn't you?
Yes. What was the trouble, Helen?
Oh, I don't know. After the first year, he simply became impossible, that's all. You remember, even as a child, he was sometimes wild.
And strange. Oh, yes. Yes, he and I were always the queer ones.
Why, whatever do you mean?
Oh, strange, different, a little apart from all of you somehow. Not quite right, I think they say about me now.
Oh, Anna, you're imagining that. No one ever said such a thing.
No?
Of course not.
What about Charles?
Nothing. He just left, that's all. I haven't even heard from him in 6 months.
Are you sure it was all his fault, Helen? Perhaps if he married someone else.
Oh, you know there was never anyone else for Charles. That's the funny part of it. Of course, he liked other girls. He liked you.
Yes.
Well, you're certainly lucky he didn't marry you. I don't know what happened towards the end. It just went from bad to worse. It got so I hated the very sight of him.
I told you. Everyone had to have someone to hate.
Oh, I didn't really mean
Are
that.
you sure, Helen? Haven't you ever hated anyone?
Oh, perhaps as a little girl I thought I did.
You hated me, didn't you?
Why, darling,
There were some times when I hated you, too.
Oh, I don't believe it. Children can't
Can't
really...
they? When an ugly little girl like me sees a pretty little girl like you getting everything she wants all through her life.
Well, not exactly everything.
You could always twist the teachers around your finger. Later it was the same with the boys. And finally, Charles. Just because you were pretty.
Oh, maybe I was a little prettier than you, dear, but you were always the clever one.
Yes. Yes, I was the clever one.
Well, I suppose we really should go to bed. Why, Anna, look at this. I didn't know you used
But
lipstick.
I don't. It's just one a young cousin of mine left here several months ago.
Oh, well, that's funny. Do you know what color it is, Anna?
What color is it, Helen?
It's orange.
No. Helen wasn't very clever. It amused me to watch her trying to think. Putting two and two together. And not being able to because she was afraid of her own conclusions. Because she was essentially a hypocrite, like everyone else. If she hadn't been, it might have saved her life. It was sometime in the middle of the night. I don't know exactly what time, because it didn't matter. But Helen was sleeping as soundly as a silly child when I went over to the side of her bed and began to shake her. Helen, wake up.
Oh, what is this?
Shh, don't make a sound.
Anna, what's the matter?
He's in the house downstairs.
Who?
I don't know. Whoever it was last night, he's gotten in somehow.
Are you sure?
I heard him. I've been listening for the last 10 minutes.
Oh, Anna, what are we going to do?
We've got to get out of the house before he starts upstairs.
But how can we? He'll hear us. We'll be
No,
caught.
we'll go down the back stairs and out through the kitchen. We can go through the back lot, over the tracks to Judge Brown's house. It's not far, but we've got to hurry.
Oh, Anna, I'm frightened. What if he hears
He
us?
won't if we're careful and if we hurry. The door between the kitchen and the front of the house is locked.
Are you sure he isn't in the
He's
kitchen?
in the front, I tell you. I heard him. Now get up, Helen. We've got to go right now.
All right.
Hold my hand.
Yes.
While I unlock the door, the back stairs are just to the right after we get out in the hall.
Oh, Anna.
Come along. Hold on to my hand and try not to make any noise.
I won't.
Here are the stairs. Just follow me.
Yes, all right.
Watch out. That's the last step.
Yes, I've got it.
We're in the kitchen now. Can you see anything?
No, it's too dark.
Then stand right there. Right where you are and don't move.
Where are you going?
There's something I want to get before we leave.
Anna, please. What are you doing?
I've got it now. A knife. Here, take my hand again.
All right. A knife?
This way.
Oh, I don't think I can for a minute.
Come along, Helen. In a little while, it'll all be over. As we hurried down the path, I kept thinking of her there behind me. So frightened now. I had to keep myself from laughing out loud. It was really funny. She'd always been so confident before. At school and later at the parties we used to go to. She'd been the confident one and I'd been frightened. While she slowly poisoned my life. While she quietly and deliberately stole everything I'd ever wanted. Even Charles. But it was different now.
That must be the 2 o'clock local. The other side of town.
Yes.
Which way now?
Straight ahead, through the grove of trees.
Anna, isn't it here somewhere that they found that girl?
Yes. Hi.
Oh, Anna, I can't go through there.
Helen, come along, don't be silly.
Do we have to?
Of course we do.
Anna, what was that?
What?
Didn't you hear it?
No.
I was positive I heard something.
Now who's imagining things, Helen?
Oh, let's hurry.
No. We're going to stop here.
Stop. But why?
Can't you guess? Even now, Helen.
Oh, Anna. No.
She didn't make a sound. I think she'd fainted even before I struck. She died without ever realizing why I did it. I made the cross on the forehead with the orange lipstick. It seemed such a silly thing as I was doing it. But of course I had to. And then I dragged the body off the path and started home. At the railroad tracks, I turned south a few yards to where they crossed the river and tossed the knife and the lipstick over the bridge. And watched them disappear into the muddy stream below. Not that it was really necessary. No one would ever think of questioning me. They would all, of course, assume that the lipstick killer had struck again. And then suddenly my heart was in my mouth. From the path ahead of me, cutting sharply across the moonlight, was a shadow. The shadow of a man.
Can I help you?
I
didn't mean to frighten you. I just thought you must be in some kind of trouble to be out of... What? Anna. Why, it's Anna Macaulay.
Charles. Oh, Charles. You did frighten me.
Well, if you insist on running around town at 2 a.m. in your night
Oh,
clothes.
Charles. Charles, this is really too much of a coincidence. Why, I didn't know you were anywhere near Boone Center.
Theoretically, I'm not. Just passing through. Business trip. Missed the 2 a.m. local. So I thought I'd kill the time waiting for the milk train by looking the old burg over again. What's your alibi?
My what? Oh, well, that's what I meant about a coincidence. I was looking for Helen.
For Helen?
No wonder you're surprised, Charles. But it's really very simple. First, there were these, well, what the newspapers have been calling the lipstick murders. I suppose you've heard about it.
I've read something about it.
Well, I suppose I was silly, but I got terribly nervous, living alone in that big house. I asked Helen to stay with me. And then in the middle of the night, she got frightened and said she couldn't stay another minute and rushed out to Judge Brown's house.
How typical of Helen.
Yeah, well, then after I thought about it, I got worried about her and went to look for her. But I guess she must have gotten there all right. I didn't find her anywhere.
You're not alone in that big house now, are you, Anna?
Why, yes, I thought you knew, Charles. My father died.
Oh, I'd forgotten.
Well, silly to be standing here, isn't it? You've got to wait for a train. Why don't you come back to the house with me? I'll fix you some coffee or something. Wouldn't that be nicer?
Yes, that would be nice. That would be very nice.
I could hardly believe my good luck. Charles, of all people. It was as though he'd come back to me. Almost as though he'd known and come back to me just at the right moment. So there we were, making coffee in the kitchen, talking over old times. Oh, dear, where is that opener for the evaporated milk? I never can find it.
Oh, here. I'll open it with my knife. Just make a couple of holes in it.
My, isn't that a rather dangerous weapon to carry around just to make holes in tin cans?
Oh, it has other uses.
There we are.
That tastes good.
Charles, I was terribly sorry to hear about you and Helen.
Me and Helen?
That you'd separated, I mean.
Is that what she called it?
Well, she said that you'd left her.
Helen always had a quaint way of putting things.
Didn't you? You don't still love her, do you?
Love her? Didn't she tell you where I'd been?
I know, not exactly.
I've been in a home, Anna. A rest home, as they call it. It was Helen who put me there.
Put you there?
I'm afraid committed is the word. See, Helen thought I was crazy.
Oh, Charles.
I only got out a couple of weeks ago. I imagine they're still looking for me.
You escaped?
I had to.
Oh, Charles, how dreadful for you.
As a matter of fact, I've been looking for Helen. There was something I wanted to give her.
But couldn't you find her?
No. I thought I had a couple of times. But it wasn't Helen after all.
What was it you wanted to give her, Charles?
This.
Lipstick.
Yes. A frightful color, isn't it? Orange. Are you sure you're not Helen?
I heard the doctors talking a little while ago. They say I won't live through the night. But I don't care. Oh, it's been such a glorious day. The happiest since I can remember. People have been calling on me whom I haven't seen for years. They say I saved the town. I must have screamed. I don't remember. So they caught poor Charles. And for the first time in my life, I'm a really important person. I wonder when they'll find Helen.
Thank you, Ida Lupino, for a splendid performance on Suspense.
In just a moment, we will again hear from Miss Ida Lupino.
Gee, what a show. I was sweating and it wasn't from the heat either. What a show.
Hey, that's us.
Gee, Dad, a fire.
Hey, out of the way, son. Where's the fire, Mike? We're on the 28th of May. They were out of here in 7 seconds. Almost before they stepped on the starter.
Mike sure wasn't fooling about those Autolite stay-full batteries, was he, Dad?
No, sir.
Talk about pistol packing action. Switch to Autolite stay-fulls, and boy, you got it.
When your spark plug stutter, now don't you try to putter. Switch to Autolite. When your starter's just a grinder, why, it's a battery reminder. Switch to Autolite. Keep your auto right. Just switch to Autolite. AUTOLITE. Switch to Autolite. For spark plug life and action. For a battery whose attraction is ignition satisfaction. Switch to Autolite.
And now, here again is Miss Ida Lupino.
It's always a great pleasure to appear on Suspense. And as a listener, I'm looking forward to some outstanding programs on this new Suspense series, with stars like Charles Lawton, Agnes Moorehead, Van Johnson, Madeline Carroll, and Ann Southern. And next week, I'll be tuned in to hear Douglas Fairbanks Jr. in a gripping suspense story entitled Deep into Darkness. I know you'll want to hear it, too, on
Suspense.
Ida Lupino may soon be seen in Darrell F. Zanuck's 20th Century Fox production, Roadhouse. Tonight's suspense play was written by Robert L. Richards from an original story by Ray Bradbury. The music was composed by Lucien Moraweck and conducted by Lud Gluskin. The entire production was under the direction of Anton M. Leader. Next Thursday, same time, you will hear Douglas Fairbanks Jr. in Deep into Darkness. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. In just a moment, Suspense, starring Douglas Fairbanks Jr.
Now, let's stop in at Ed Jones for a moment, Billy.
Okay, Dad.
Hello, Ed. How's the world's greatest ignition service station tonight?
Hi, Billy.
Hi.
I'm busy on a couple of cranky ignition jobs. Hey, how's the car running?
Never better. Take a look.
Sure, glad to.
Hey, Dad, Ed's got his radio on. Is it the Autolite show?
That's it, Billy. Suspense is my Thursday night special.
Ignition systems, spark plugs, batteries. Ed, you've got everyone in town switching to Autolite.
Billy, your dad's trying to take over the Autolite announcer's chore. Say, Doug Fairbanks Jr. is on Suspense tonight. You like him, Billy?
Yes, sir. He's a self-starting, smooth-running humdinger. Why, he's got the pep of an Autolite ignition system, a set of spark plugs, and a stay-full battery combined. Uh-oh, here's the show.
Suspense. Autolite and its 60,000 dealers and service stations bring you radio's outstanding theater of thrills. Starring tonight, Mr. Douglas Fairbanks in a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Today, everybody's switching to Autolite, and tonight, Autolite takes pleasure in presenting
Anton Leader's production of Deep into Darkness, starring Douglas Fairbanks.
This is a story about fear, and I'm an expert on fear. Me, Ken Matthews. That cheap, broken-down hotel room is as good a place as any to start. It was all I could afford. New York, the city of bright lights, and me, stretched out on a squeaky bed, watching a spot change shape on the ceiling. It's a kind of game to keep a man from going crazy. For 7 years, I watched another spot, changed it into a million shapes, got to know it better than I knew myself. That spot on the ceiling of my cell at Joliet Penitentiary. When it was over, when they were finally ready to let me go back into the world, the warden had something to say to me, some advice.
Matthews, you're leaving us early because of your good behavior record. Now, if I were you, I'd start fresh on the outside. Stay away from Chicago. Go someplace new where they don't know you.
I sort of figured on doing that, Warden.
Good. You'll find it easier.
I'd find it easier. I wonder how it is when it's tough. Nobody knew me in New York. Nobody wanted to know me. And as for a job, well, did you ever wash dishes? I washed a million. Know any dirty jobs nobody wants to do? I did them all. That's how I built up my fortune. $17.50 United States currency. That's how much I was worth this one morning when I saw a sign out in front of a construction shop. Men wanted, the sign said. I believed it. I looked up the phone.
Bill, what's that compressor? Come on, Jim. Keep it moving.
Looking for something, Bud?
Yes, you have a sign out there. Are you hiring men?
Could be. What do you do?
Oh, just about anything. I can keep books, handle your time. I used to be an accountant.
Oh, yeah?
But if that's not what you're looking for, well, I can swing a shovel, too. I just want a job.
I like that attitude. Got your discharge certificate with you?
Discharge?
Yeah, honorable discharge. Always like to give a break to ex-service guys.
Oh, well, I wasn't in the service.
Yeah, oh. 4F?
No, I sat out the war. I was in jail.
Oh, it's tough. Hey, I got a little mixed up in your accounting, huh?
No, it was manslaughter. I killed a man. What about the job? I really need it.
Look, buddy, I don't want you to think this is my idea, but...
But you can't use me.
No, I can't. You see...
Yes, I see. Start fresh, he said.
I got my orders. See, you know how that is. The bosses figure there's a lot of vets looking for jobs, and I got to give them the first crack at things. Oh, if I was to...
It's all right. It isn't your fault. Maybe some other war. Somehow that was the last straw. I started to hate. I hated everything and everyone. And then I thought of my fortune, my $17.50. And suddenly I knew there was something I wanted to buy.
What you want to use the gun for, mister?
I don't know. I just want to have it.
Well, we're supposed to put something down here. I mean, along with your name and everything.
Oh, well, put down target practice. That's good enough, isn't it?
I guess so. What's the name?
Put down Smith.
Smith. Oh, it's like that, huh? Look, mister, I don't want to get into any trouble. I run a respectable place of business here.
You want to sell the gun, don't you?
Well, sure, but...
You want the $14, don't you?
Okay, so it's Smith. And you're going to do some target practice. Give me the $14 and get lost, huh?
Thanks a lot. Funny thing, I still don't know why I wanted that gun. I swear I don't. Kill myself, rob a bank or a filling station? I haven't any idea. I suppose I just thought that having it would make me feel better. Only it didn't. It hung in my pocket heavy as lead, cold, dead, just like its owner. I turned into a side street, 52nd, 51st. I wasn't sure. I stopped to light a cigarette when a car pulled up to the curb. It was a big car with a chauffeur. A black car, smooth and shiny. Then I looked at the man getting out. Just one look. And wheels started spinning around in my head. I got dizzy. The sidewalk twisted and bounced around like it was having a convulsion. But when he spoke, the shock of hearing his voice straightened it all out. Made it cold and clear as hard crystal. Just a few words to that chauffeur.
Wait for me, Davis. I won't be long.
He turned and walked past me, right by me into the bank. But he couldn't walk. He couldn't do anything. That was Lee Burke I was staring at. Lee Burke, the man I'd killed 7 years ago.
For Suspense, Autolite is bringing you Mr. Douglas Fairbanks, Jr. in Deep into Darkness. Autolite's presentation of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Sure looks like young Doug's got it, eh, Billy?
Boy, I'll say he has. What a chip he's got in his shoulder.
Billy, stop chipping and chirping like your mother. Oh, by the way, Ed, that ignition system of mine score a bullseye?
She's completely on the beam. My jobs usually are, especially when they're Autolite.
Yes, sir. Money can't buy better ignition equipment for your car. Autolite parts are made by the world's largest independent manufacturers of automobile electrical equipment. And Autolite service stations are equipped with highly trained men and specialized machines to give your car the best in automobile service.
That Autolite ignition system sounds intelligent enough to take an IQ test, eh, Ed?
Stop pulling Ed's leg, Billy.
I'm used to it, Hap. But I'll tell you this. Autolite makes original equipment for many of the finest cars in America. Ignition systems, batteries, spark plugs, generators, lots more. So it's only natural that Autolite ignition is... Well, it's a perfectly timed team with smooth on-the-dot performance.
So when your car's electrical system needs attention, drive into your nearest Autolite service station or the dealer who sells your make of car and ask for original factory parts.
Autolite? Autolite service stations are listed in your classified telephone directory under Automotive Electrical Service.
And now, Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Mr. Douglas Fairbanks, Jr. as Ken in Deep into Darkness. A tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Few moments of watching a man walk across the sidewalk into a bank, I lived it all over again. The way it happened when I killed him 7 years ago back in Chicago. There wasn't anything about it I couldn't remember.
Ken, darling.
Yeah?
Do you love me, Ken?
Do I love you? Oh, no, not at all. I just sit in that goofy nightclub night after night because the food's so good.
Oh, Ken, you're sweet.
Lila, why don't you forget that place? Give it up. Where's it going to get a girl like you dancing in a cheap honky-tonk?
You have something better to offer, darling?
I've offered it a half a dozen times. Marry me. I got a good job. It'll get better.
Hand me my drink, will you?
Sure. Here. What do you say?
I've told you, Ken, over and over again. I'm not getting married. Not to you, anyway. You're a sweet guy, sure, and I'm very fond of you, but little Lila isn't burying herself in any house with a bunch of squalling kids. That's for suckers.
I don't think you mean that at all.
No? Well, you just watch, darling. I'm going to wind up with a diamond so big it'll take a 2-ton truck to deliver it to me. I'm going to have so many mink coats I'll use them for pajamas.
Yeah, that's the way to talk, sis. You tell him.
Hello, Lee.
You're beginning to sound like you're getting good sense. What are you doing up here with this bookkeeper anyway?
And a good evening to you, too, Lee.
Never mind. I thought I said I didn't want you wasting your time with him.
He's all right.
Get out of here, Matthews.
Now, wait a minute. If Lila wants me to go...
Oh, not satisfied with my suggestions, huh? Well, I've a good mind...
Lee, stop it. Put that gun away. Every time you have a few drinks, you start waving that gun around.
Really, Lee, you better put it down. Stop acting like a kid.
Acting like a kid, huh? I'll show you who's acting like a kid.
Give me that gun.
Lee!
Come on, Lee. Give it to me. I'll break your arm.
Oh, let go of my...
Lila, it went off. I was only trying to take it away from him.
Oh, you killed him. Ken, you killed my brother.
I didn't mean it, I tell you. You saw what happened. I was only trying to get the gun.
Get out, Ken. The police will find you. Get out of here. Hurry, I tell you, get out!
I got out all right in a hurry. It was pouring that night, and I ran down the street with the rain slapping me in the face. I ran up a back alley into the darkness, and then I stopped. I didn't want to run. Not for the rest of my life. I went to the nearest police station, turned myself in. They took me back to the Burkes, and we found Lila sitting in a chair, glassy-eyed, just staring down at her brother, Lee. He was right where I'd left him, sprawled on the floor, face down, and a big red puddle was ruining the rug. Lee Burke was dead, and they gave me 10 years for killing him. Only now he wasn't dead. He couldn't be. I'd just seen him walk into a bank. A nice car you got.
Yeah.
Must be an important man to have a car like that, eh?
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Lots of money, I suppose, huh?
Yeah, he's crawling with it. That make you happy?
His name, it doesn't happen to be Burke, does it?
No, Wilson. Oh. Keith Wilson. He also happens to be a stockbroker. Anything else you want to know?
Keith Wilson.
Yeah, now beat it. The boss is coming.
The boss? Now, isn't that something?
All right, Davis. I'll go straight to the office now.
Yes, sir.
In a hurry, Lee?
What? Oh, there must be some mistake. My name isn't Lee.
Oh, pardon me. But it was Lee. There wasn't any doubt about it. And he knew me, too. I could see it in his eyes and in the way his face went white. I didn't understand it. I couldn't figure out why or how, but Lee Burke was alive. The rest of the fortune went for a taxi ride, but it was worth it to me, and I guess if I hadn't had enough money to follow Lee's car wherever it went, I'd have forced the cab driver with that gun I'd bought. But it wasn't necessary. We went out to Long Island. Way out. And then the car swung into a place with a big half-circle drive. Lee Burke, now Mr. Keith Wilson, was doing very well for himself. And so was Lila. What's the matter, Lila?
Ken.
Is it like seeing a ghost?
Ken, it's really you.
I saw a ghost just now, too, only he was very much alive.
So that's what he was so excited about.
Lee?
Yes, he came in, rushed upstairs. Told me to call the airport, get him a plane for Miami.
Did you?
Not yet.
It won't do any good.
Ken, what do you want? Why did you come here?
I just wanted to be sure, Lila. Absolutely sure.
What are you going to do?
I'd like to kill him. I ought to kill you both.
No, Ken. Don't talk like that. It wasn't me. I didn't plan it.
But it was a plan, wasn't it, Lila? Wasn't it?
Yes.
You want to tell me about it, or do I have to choke it out of him?
I'll tell you. What's the difference? You didn't kill Lee. You didn't kill anybody.
Huh?
It was a frame-up.
Then how could I have seen him like that? Lee was on the floor, dead.
No, that wasn't Lee. He found the man, Ken, a stumble-bum, a drunk, and the man looked just like him. Close enough for what Lee had figured out. It was the crookedest scheme you ever heard. Took out insurance with every company in town, $500,000 with me as beneficiary. He was going to kill this drifter and disappear, let me collect the money. It was as simple as that, at first.
Keep talking.
I told him it wouldn't work, Ken, that they'd never pay off, not that much. Not till they checked fingerprints, teeth, everything, but he had that figure, too. They wouldn't check a thing if a fall guy pleaded guilty to a murder charge.
So that's how it was.
You were the fall guy. I let you take me home that night, remember?
I remember.
Lee had his gun loaded with blanks. It was an act, the whole thing. Then when you ran, he finished the job. He had the drunk in the bedroom, dressed in his clothes. He brought him into the living room. Killed him right in front of me. That's who you saw when you got back.
Good Lord.
That's why I hate my brother, why I don't care what happens to him.
Thanks, Lila. That's going to make it easier.
Lila, just call the airline.
No, Lee, not yet.
But I told you not to waste any time. You don't know what this means.
She knows what it means, Lee. We all do.
What do you want? Why'd you follow me here? Hey, look, I think you better get out of here.
I'd stay away from that telephone, Lee. I'd stand still if I were you.
You'd better do as he says, Lee. He's got a gun.
Ken, listen to me. You can't do this. Not now. You don't want any more trouble. Why, if the police found out...
The police? If you told them I was going to kill you, it wouldn't make sense, Lee. Because I've already done that. Remember?
Oh, but Ken, look, I can explain the whole thing. It was a mistake.
I'm glad you know that now.
I've made a lot of money, Ken. I've been very lucky. I'll split with you. You look like you could use some money.
Yes, I could.
Sure, that's good. Only forget the gun, huh? And stop acting like you want to kill me. You wouldn't gain anything that way. Come on, Lila, fix some drinks or something, huh? We'll talk this over friendly-like. Ken, you know Lila was always crazy about you.
I was always crazy about her.
Oh, Ken,
But let's talk about something else right now, Lee. Let's talk about America.
Sure.
You know, this is a wonderful country, the way the laws are set up to protect a man. Ever hear of double jeopardy, Lee? Brings up a rather interesting fact. That you can't try a man twice for the same crime. 7 years I spent paying for killing you. 7 years at Joliet, and you weren't even dead. That means I've paid for something I haven't done yet. I still have the right, Lee, to kill you. Once more.
Oh, now, Ken, stop it. You're talking crazy. There must be something you want.
I only want to kill you, Lee, because you deserve to be killed. We both know that, don't we? Only, I don't think I'll kill you now. Not right away.
Oh, we'll be reasonable. Is that it, Ken? Be reasonable, I say.
I'm going to stay right with you. 24 hours a day, right up to the time you leave. I know exactly when and how I'm going to kill you. And you won't know. You'll never know, Lee, until it happens. You'll just wait. Just sit and wait and wait. I never left the Burke's mansion, never let them leave. I was with Lee from the time he got up until he went to bed. I stayed with him every waking hour, and I never stopped twisting his life like a piece of putty, putting fear in his mind until there didn't seem to be anything else left there at all. Just a trembling, driving fear in everything he did, everything he said.
Lila, can't we do something? Get to somebody.
Oh, Lee, what can I do?
You could have said something to the servants. You had a chance before he sent them away.
I didn't. It all happened too fast. Got rid of them as easily as he cut the telephone wires.
Oh, we gotta do something. Get in touch with somebody. With Madeline, maybe.
Oh, yes? What will your blue-blood fiancé think of you now, when you suddenly stop calling 2 days before your wedding, and then don't show up?
The wedding? Oh, Lila, don't you see? If anything should happen to the wedding now, I'd be ruined. Oh, he can't get away with this. He'll let down sometime. He's got to sleep.
So do we.
Lila's right, Lee.
Oh, Ken, you were there by the door. You heard.
About your wedding? Yes, Lee. I got back just in time, didn't I? Can I pour you a Manhattan?
No, No, I don't want anything.
Your funeral...
No, don't say that.
You're falling apart much faster than I thought, Lee. It wasn't taking long at all. Lee couldn't sit still for a minute, couldn't take his eyes off me. Of course, little things like this didn't exactly help.
Who is it? Ken?
Yes, Lee. It's Ken.
Got the gun?
I have the gun, Lee.
Oh, this is the time, huh?
No, Lee, no, I don't think so. Here, drink this.
What is it?
Milk. Warm milk. It'll put you to sleep.
Yeah, for good, you mean?
No. Just until morning. You see, I wouldn't think of killing a man on his wedding day.
What?
Don't tell me you've forgotten your wedding to the blue-blooded Mr. Haven. You've come a long way, Lee, marrying into the social register.
Oh, don't, Ken.
Come on, drink up. You'll need your strength for the wedding.
No, that's all off. I haven't even called her, Ken.
Lila has. I made her call. She made some very pretty excuses for you, and the wedding will go on as scheduled.
What are you going to do?
Nothing, only behave yourself tomorrow. Do as you're told. And you might live through the ceremony.
Wilt thou, Keith, take this woman to thy wedded wife, to live together after God's ordinance in the holy state of matrimony? Wilt thou love her, comfort her, honor and keep her in sickness and in health, and forsaking all others, keep thee unto her so long as ye both shall live?
Say no.
Ken.
Say no, or I'll kill you right here in front of them all. Say it, Lee.
Mr. Wilson, the answer, please.
No, I can't. I can't.
Wilson,
I
please,
can't.
the answer. This must be true.
There was only one thing wrong with that little wedding scene. I had fun, sure, but in the excitement, I'm afraid I relaxed a little. I wasn't sure how much it mattered. That depended on Lila. When I was sure Lee was asleep that night, I met her in the living room. Got right to the point.
Something on your mind, Ken?
Yes. Mousy. Who's Mousy?
Ken, you look so tired, so thin.
Tell me, Lila. Tell me about Mousy.
What do you know about him?
Lee's been talking about him in his sleep. Talking about Mousy and you, Lila. And me. You'd better tell me all about it.
Ken, you're hurting my arm. I don't know anything about Mousy.
Maybe he was there at the wedding. Maybe you saw him. Maybe you gave him the message. Did you, Lila?
Ken, stop it. You know I promised I wouldn't do anything like that. Don't you trust me?
Trust you? Should I, Lila? Do you really think I should?
But you know how I feel about you. Surely you don't think... Oh, Ken, darling.
Get away from me.
Ken. So that's it. It was all just a gag to keep the little girl in line.
How did you expect me to feel after all this happened?
That's right. I was naive, wasn't I? Sure. Okay. Well, I won't be naive anymore. You can bet on that.
Lila.
Good night, Ken, darling.
When I cooled off, I realized I'd gone too far. She wouldn't be on my side anymore. Unless I could talk to her again and make it all seem like a mistake, a joke, maybe. Yeah, that'd be the thing. But when I went to find her, she wasn't around. I didn't see her again till next morning. Every morning I went out to the gate for the paper, but this time I waited for Lila to get up and come down so I could talk to her before Lee came in, try to fix things. And standing there in the hallway, I fixed things all right. Fixed them good. Lila.
Yes?
I want you to know that, well, that I'm sorry about last night.
It's all right.
No, it isn't, no. I didn't mean what I said at all. I guess I'd built up so much hate that, well, I was upset. I was blind to how you feel about me, how I really feel about you.
Ken, you're asking me to be naive again.
Yes, I guess I am. I like you that way. I looked for you last night to tell you. You weren't around. Where'd you go?
Oh, Ken,
No, it's all right. I don't care where you went. Anyway, now you know how I really feel.
Ken, you don't know what you're saying.
Yes, I do, Lila. I've been thinking. That's the way it ought to be. We've been a couple of lost souls, but maybe by forgetting the past, trying to find some peace of mind...
Ken!
Think about it, will you, Lila? I went out then, out the door and down the driveway. Left her standing there staring after me. But suddenly, as I was almost to the gate, I heard her coming. Running, fast.
Ken! No, Ken, come back!
And then I saw it, a car that had been parked down the road. It was moving now, gathering speed, coming right past the gate.
Ken! Ken, look out!
And then she was there. She threw herself right in front of me. I heard the shouts. I felt her thrown heavily against me, and then her body went limp in my arms. I held her close for a second, and then I lowered her to the ground. Walked back up the drive, alone. Lee was out in front of the house, sitting on a bench in front of a big tree. He'd heard the shots, I'm sure, but he was just sitting there, probably waiting for Lila to come back and say that Mousie had taken care of me. He turned and looked up as I walked toward him.
Lila? Oh, no.
His eyes seemed to look right through me somehow. He was that full of fear, I guess. His fingers gripped the tree in back of him, dug deep into the bark. He was waiting for me to kill him. Lila's dead, Lee. Your gunman got her instead of me.
Lila?
I'm sorry because there was something I didn't have time to tell her. I never intended to kill you, Lee. I was just showing you how 7 years looked crowded into a few days.
7 years?
Yeah, that's right. I guess you know now. I guess you know why and what you did. Lee, this is Ken. I'm talking to you.
Ken? I don't know any Ken.
And he didn't. He didn't even know himself. The way his eyes looked, I don't think he ever will again. They weren't Lee Burke's eyes anymore. They belonged to someone else. Funny. The man who tried to be somebody else had finally made it. And it was not good to look upon.
Thank you, Douglas Fairbanks, for an outstanding performance on Suspense.
Talk about performance, Dad. Autolite ignition is good, but what about Doug Fairbanks?
He's really got it, Billy. Well, let's get going. Your mother...
Mom will be as full of suspense as your Autolite ignition system is full of pep, purr, power, and pistol point performance.
That boy knows his Autolite P's, and he doesn't miss any cues, eh, Hap?
Yes, an Autolite is your cue to real motoring enjoyment. So remember, wherever you go, Autolite means spark plug.
Ignition engineered spark plug.
Autolite means batteries. Stay full batteries. Autolite means ignition system.
The lifeline of your car.
And now, here again is Mr. Douglas Fairbanks.
I've enjoyed this appearance on Suspense very much. And I've noted with great interest, as a Suspense fan, that Agnes Moorehead will return to the soundstage next week, the scene of her splendid performances of the past. As one of the many who applauded her portrayal in the Suspense classic Sorry, Wrong Number, I'll be listening with anticipation next week for Agnes Moorehead in The Yellow Wallpaper, a powerful study in...
Suspense.
Douglas Fairbanks may soon be seen in his own production, The O'Flynn. Tonight's suspense play was written by Edward James, with music composed by Lucien Morawick and conducted by Lud Gluskin. The entire production was under the direction of Anton M. Leader. Next Thursday, same time, you will hear Miss Agnes Moorehead in The Yellow Wallpaper.
This is the Autolite Suspense Show signing off. Good night. Switch to Autolite.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. In just a moment, Suspense, starring Agnes Moorehead.
Hi, Hap. Hello, Ed.
How are things?
Couldn't be better. Except walking 12 blocks to your service station just isn't for me. You got my new spark plugs in?
Just finished putting those brand new Autolite resistor spark plugs in your car. Guess she takes a big load off your arches, eh, Hap?
Sure does. My feet have the pep, but not the pickup. What are you listening to tonight?
Oh, it's Thursday, Hap. I'm listening to the Autolite Suspense Show. Never miss it.
Well, here's where I rest my weary bones and listen to Agnes Moorehead.
Hey, Hap, here comes Frank Martin, the Autolite salesman, to join us. Hello, Frank.
Hi, Ed.
Meet Hap Horton.
Autolite spark plugs, batteries, and ignition systems.
The lifeline of your car.
Well, thanks, Mr. Horton, for the assist. And wait until I give you the real lowdown on those brand new Autolite resistor spark plugs Ed just put in your car.
Say it later, Frank. Here comes Agnes Moorehead.
Suspense. Autolite and its 60,000 dealers and service stations bring you radio's outstanding theater of thrills. Starring tonight, Miss Agnes Moorehead, in a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Today, everybody's switching to Autolite, and tonight, Autolite takes pleasure in presenting
Anton Leader's production of the famous short story, The Yellow Wallpaper, starring Agnes Moorehead.
I've never seen a worse wallpaper in my life. All those strangled heads and bulbous eyes and fungus growths seem to shriek with derision. When we came to this house, the minute I saw it, I made up my mind secretly to start writing again in spite of them. But I don't dare let John know I'm keeping this journal. It's difficult being married to a doctor. John's an excellent doctor, I'm sure, but he's so inconsistent about me. He says I'm not really sick, that I'm only a little run down from caring for the baby, that I have a temporary nervous depression. Yet he prescribes phosphates or phosphites, I don't know which, and tonics and exercise. And he absolutely forbids me to work until I'm well again. He hates for me to write a word. But writing is such a relief to my mind. I can write down things, tell things here that... No, John says I'm not to brood about those things. I confess they make me feel bad, so I'll only write about the house. I saw it for the first time today. It's the most beautiful place. John rented it for the summer, and we drove up today, a perfect June morning. The bay and the white sails and people already in swimming, and then the shaded lane and the riotous old-fashioned flowers and the gnarly trees and the house. The house standing alone in the summer stillness. I could never tell John, but you know, the house spoke to me. It was only because he rattled on so that I couldn't hear what
Reminded me of those English places you read about. Gardeners, cottages, and everything, and at only $200 a month.
Hedges and walls and gates that lock, and there's a ghostliness.
Remember, I rented it just for you, darling. And you're going to let Jenny do all the work while you live like a prince. You like it, darling? Speak up.
Yes, John. Yes, it's lovely, but it's strange, as though it might be haunted.
Darling, you've got that look on your face again. That dopey look. Well, Jean is home, has a station wagon, and if I know my dear sister, she's already turned the place inside out and cleaned it top to bottom.
John, is it haunted, do you think?
What, the house?
Uh-huh.
At $200 a month? Well, that's asking too much of Faith. Come on, hop up.
You always laugh at anything you can't touch or see or put down in figures. There is something strange about the house, I feel.
If you weren't always imagining.
I'm not imagining.
One reason I don't get well is that you don't believe me. You don't even believe I'm sick. You tell my friends and relatives. I've heard you. I've heard you that there's nothing wrong with me.
There is nothing wrong with
you. See, you're saying it
Oh,
again.
I'm sorry. Please don't cry. Now, come along. Let's go inside.
And so I came into this house in tears. It was wrong. It was all wrong. Maybe the house saw me crying, or this room. I got so unreasonably angry with John. I shouldn't, I know. He's so careful and loving, and I repay him so badly. I should control myself, at least in front of him. But it makes me so tired not to show what I feel. Jenny met us at the door. Naturally, she saw I'd been crying, but she took pains to ignore it.
Well, hello, you two. You're early. You must have started at the crack of dawn. How was the trip?
Made it in less than 2 hours.
They're like as peas in a pod, Jenny and John, both efficient and kind.
And how did you bear up, Pet?
Oh, very well, thank you, Jenny.
Well, just
both kind and both somehow cruel. But I don't really think that.
Well, you're just in time for lunch. I bought a flounder down at the wharf and cooked it with capers and cream. Sound good?
Wonderful, Jenny.
May I see the house first?
The whole grand tour? Oh, Pet, the flounder will cook to death.
Well, at least my room.
Our room.
All right, if you insist. But if that fish is spoiled, don't blame me.
Why would I blame her?
Whose room is this, Jenny? Yours?
Uh-huh, it's small, but it's near the door and the telephone.
Oh, John, look.
What?
Let's take this one for you and me. I love those roses over the window.
I've already put your things upstairs, Pet.
Well, this has a little porch and such pretty old-fashioned chintz hangings.
Well,
Let's
you'll
take
love the
this.
room upstairs,
And
darling.
you can see there's no room in here for 2 beds.
And I won't hear of being in separate rooms. I'm going to make you rest and take your tonic.
John and I talked it all over. And the room at the top of the house has so many windows.
And you know, darling, you must absorb lots of fresh air. Get your appetite back.
They smother me with concern. They crush me with kindness.
Come along. There's a good girl.
All right, you know what's best.
And you're going to like that nursery. It gets loads of sunshine.
Up the steep, narrow stairs, 2 stories up to the very top of the house. There's a gate at the top that locks. I wonder why. And beyond the gate is the nursery room. This room. It is big and airy, nearly a whole floor with windows that look every way. They say it was a nursery. But what was it, really?
Open them all, Jenny. Wide.
All right.
Well, darling?
Why are the windows barred?
For the little children. Otherwise it wouldn't be safe.
Oh, yes, I suppose. Children climb around so, don't they? What are those rings and things in the walls?
Oh, I expect they made it into a gymnasium when the children got older.
A sort of playground.
Oh, they must have hated the wallpaper.
Well, they were rough on it, that's for sure.
The way they've stripped it off in patches. I don't blame them. It's hideous.
Oh, who wants to look at the wallpaper with this view? My, you can see the whole bay.
It's a revolting color. It's unclean. Such a strange, sickish yellow there where the sun's faded it. I never saw worse paper in my life.
Don't dramatize it, darling. You must be hungry, and I know you're tired.
I'm not tired. Why do you both act this way? I say the wallpaper's ugly, and you look at each other. Your eyes shuttle back and forth, and suddenly you both act as though I'd lost my
Darling, that was something we weren't going to say.
Be a good girl, Pet. We don't act anyway. We just don't want you to worry. We want you to be well.
It's true, that's all they want. John laughs at me, of course, but one expects that in marriage. And he says I have foolish fancies, and he sometimes can talk them away, but not this time. No matter what he says, it's a smoldering, sulphurous, unclean, it's hideous wallpaper. No wonder the children scratched at it and stripped it down. No wonder they gouged the plaster with their little fingernails. No wonder they hate it. I hate it myself. And somehow, I feel it hates me.
Suspense, Autolite is bringing you Miss Agnes Moorehead in the yellow wallpaper. Autolite's presentation of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
isn't she terrific?
Yes, sir. Agnes Moorhead is always terrific.
She sure is. Say, the car sure sounds good. I couldn't resist stepping on the starter. These new Autolite resistor spark plugs sure make this a contented car.
Yep, and you got the first set in town.
Well, right now you can get Autolite resistor spark plugs almost anywhere in the United States. It's sensational. Why, no other spark plug will give and maintain such performance.
Sounds like a good sales story. Where did the name resistor come from, Mr. Martin?
Autolite worked with leading car and truck manufacturers, and they ignition engineered a 10,000 ohm resistor right into the Autolite spark plug. That permits a wider spark gap setting and maintains it far longer than any other spark plugs.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Mr. Horton, when you replace your narrow gap spark plugs with a set of wide gap Autolite resistor spark plugs, you can tell the difference in your car.
That's right from the book, I'll bet, Mr. Martin?
Well, guess so. But here's the simple lowdown. As a result of the wide gap in the resistor spark plug, your engine idles smoother. You have better luck with lean gas mixtures and save gas. And within established limits, you reduce spark plug interference with radio and television reception. Yes, and today you can get the resistor spark plug from almost any of Autolite's 60,000 dealers. That's the biggest spark plug news in years.
And now Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Miss Agnes Moorehead as star in The Yellow Wallpaper, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
We've been here 2 weeks, and I haven't felt like riding again since that first day. I'm sitting by the window now, up in this frightful nursery room. There's nothing to stop my riding as much as I please. John is away all day, and sometimes even at night if he has a serious case. I'm glad my case is not serious. But these nervous troubles can be depressing all the same.
I cry at nothing and cry most of the time. John doesn't know how much I suffer. He knows there's no reason to suffer, and that satisfies him. I suppose John was never nervous in his life. He laughs at me so about this wallpaper.
No, I won't let you have your way, you silly goose. If we'd taken the room downstairs, you'd be seeing faces in the chintz drapes.
Not faces. Look at that spot, John. And that one over there.
Yes, I see. It's a repeating pattern.
It's a broken neck with two bulging eyes staring at me upside down.
And to me, it's climbing ivy or some kind of a vine. Take your choice. Could be anything. Besides, I can't repaper a room just for a 3 months rental.
Well, then let's move downstairs. Take me away from her. Don't you see, John? It hates me. I wish I'd get well faster.
Just use your will and your good sense,
I'm
darling.
afraid.
But you're so much better.
When I married you, I meant to be such a help, and I'm only a burden.
You are a help to me. You're my comfort.
I can't even be with my baby. It makes me so nervous. Will I ever be well enough to see him again?
Of course you'll be well, if you try.
Then I'll try, I promise. From now on, I won't look at the wallpaper, and I'll stop seeing things out of the windows.
Out the windows?
Oh, I see people walking up and down the paths and in the arbors. I know it's silly, and it's only in certain lights when I look at the wallpaper from the bed that I see...
See what?
Nothing. Nothing. No, you're right. There's nothing except a pattern. A front pattern and an under pattern in a different shade of yellow. It dwells in my mind so. I lie on that great immovable bed. It's nailed down, I believe, and follow that pattern about by the hour. And then where it isn't faded and when the sun is just so, I see a strange, faint, formless sort of figure lurking, waiting behind that front design. I don't know why I should write like this day after day. I don't want to. I don't feel able. And I know John would think it absurd, but I must express what I feel and think in some way. It's such a relief. There are things in that wallpaper that nobody knows about but me. You know, there's a woman stooping down and creeping about behind that pattern. Last night it was moonlight, and the moon shines in all around just as the sun does. John was asleep, and I hated to waken him, so I I kept still and watched the moonlight on the wall till I felt creepy. The woman behind the paper began to shake the pattern as if she wanted to get out. I got up softly and went and felt the paper to see if it did move. It moved. It moved, I'm sure of it. And the poor woman cried out as though her voice came a long way over water. Clementine, look me! Clementine, look me! Clementine, look me! Oh, the poor thing. Then I went back to the bed. John was awake.
What is it, darling? Why, you up? Oh, you shouldn't go walking around like that. You'll catch cold.
The moonlight woke me.
Oh, you are cold. You're shivering.
John, I'm not really getting better. Won't you take me away?
Our lease will be up in 3 weeks, darling. I don't see how we can leave before then. Of course, if you were in any danger, I would, but you really are better, dear, whether you see it or not. I'm a doctor, and I know.
Oh, my appetite may be better in the evening when you're here, but it's worse in the morning when you're gone.
Why, you're gaining flesh and
I
color.
don't weigh a bit more, not even as much.
Well, bless your little heart. You shall be as sick as you please. But let's go to sleep, huh? And talk about it in the morning.
You won't go away?
How can I, dear? And why should I, since you're better?
Better in body, perhaps, but
Darling,
in my health.
For my sake and your sake and for the sake of our child, I beg you not to let that idea enter your head. Not for an instant. Can't you trust me as a doctor when I tell you it's a false and foolish idea? Answer me, darling. Don't you trust me?
Yes, of course I trust you, only...
What?
I'm sleepy. Let's go to sleep. But I didn't sleep. I lay there for hours trying to decide if the front pattern and the back pattern moved together or separately. At night, in the moonlight, the front pattern becomes bars. And the woman behind it shakes the bars. Yes, she shakes the bars as she creeps around. I lie down ever so much now. John says it's good for me and to sleep all I can. But you see, I don't sleep. And that cultivates deceit, for I don't tell him I'm awake. Oh, no. Fact is, I'm getting a little afraid of John. He seems very odd sometimes, and it strikes me that perhaps it's the yellow wallpaper. I like this room now. And life is much more exciting than it used to be. I have something more to expect, to look forward to watch. And I really do eat better, and I'm quieter than I was. John is pleased to see me improve.
You see, you're flourishing like a weed in spite of your wallpaper.
Yes. In spite of the wallpaper. In spite of it. Because of it. But I had no intention of telling him that. He might want to take me away, and I don't want to leave now until I found out. There's 1 week more, and I think that will be enough. There's a funny mark on the wall low down near the mopboard. A streak that runs around the room. Goes behind every piece of furniture except the bed. A long, straight, even smudge as if it had been rubbed over and over and over. How was it done? Who did it? What did they do? Round and round. Round and round. Round. It makes me dizzy. I've really discovered something at last. There are a great many women behind the pattern, and sometimes only one, and she creeps around fast, and her creeping shakes the pattern. She's trying to climb through and can't because the pattern strangles everything. But she does get out in the daytime. I know because I've seen her. When a car comes, she hides in the blackberry vines. I don't blame her. I'd hide, too. I always lock the door when I creep by daylight. There are only 2 days left to tear this paper off and let the woman out in the room. And John's beginning to take notice. I don't like the look in his eyes or the way he talks with Jenny about me. I overheard them.
She isn't sleeping nights, Jenny. She's quiet, but I know she's awake.
Well, it's little wonder she sleeps the whole blessed day.
Well, maybe I ought to call in another doctor.
No, it's just stubbornness, John. She's determined to prove you're wrong.
I suppose you're right. Oh, I'm sure she'll improve. Oh, darling.
Well, hello, Pet. How you creep about?
Oh, that's a funny thing to say, Jenny. It isn't I who creeps.
Jenny says you stay in your room too much. You don't take your exercise.
You tell me to rest and then you tell me to take exercise. I can't do both.
Well,
As though I can't see through them.
tomorrow's our last day here. We'll talk about exercise when I get you back to town.
I'll have to rouse you out of bed pretty early, Pet. You know, some of that furniture up there belongs downstairs, and the movers will be here at 9.
Maybe you'll sleep upstairs tonight, Jenny. So you won't be alone, darling.
You won't be here tonight, John?
Well, not until tomorrow evening. There's a difficult case.
If you're going to feel lonesome...
Oh, no, Jenny. I'll rest better alone, I'm sure of it. Thank you all the same. That was clever of me. The sly thing. I won't be alone a bit. As soon as the moon shone in, the poor thing behind the paper began to crawl and shake the pattern. I ran to her. I pulled, and she shook. I shook, and she pulled. And my morning wheat peeled off yards and yards of yellow wallpaper. A strip about as high as my head and half around the room. When Jenny came up in the morning, she looked at the wall in amazement. You know why I did it, Jenny? Just to spite the vicious thing. Why are you so surprised?
Oh, I'm not. Why, I wouldn't mind doing it myself. But you mustn't tire yourself, Pet.
She wouldn't mind doing it.
Why don't you come downstairs and lie down?
How she betrayed herself, that Jenny. She wouldn't mind doing it. But I'm here and no person touches this paper but me. Not alive. I've locked the door and thrown the key down into the front path. I don't want anybody to come in till John comes. I want to surprise him. And I've got a rope up here. Even Jenny doesn't know that. If the woman gets out from behind the pattern and tries to run away, I can tie her securely to one of the rings in the wall. There. There she is. There, see how the pattern moves, like wallowing seaweeds. Oh, it'll strangle her unless I help. Wait, I'll help you. I'll peel off the paper all I can. Wait, be patient. You push. You push and I'll pull. Oh, it sticks horribly to the plaster. I can get it off with my teeth. Oh, it hurts. But I'm getting it. Wait, just a little bit more. I'm getting it. Wait, a little bit more. I wonder if they all came out of the wallpaper, as I did. I think they did, but I have you securely tied by my rope now. You'll never get away. But I don't want to get away. It's so pleasant to be out in this great room to creep about as I please. It's so pleasant. But I suppose I'll have to get back behind the pattern when night comes. That will be hard to do. Well, it's better than going outside. I won't go outside, even if Jenny asks me to. For outside, have to creep on the ground where everything is green instead of yellow. And here I can creep smoothly on the floor. Listen. Listen, she's coming now.
Darling, open the door. Do you hear me? Open the door.
Oh, it's John at the door.
Open the door, darling. Open it, please, dear.
Oh, he does pound and shout. It's no use, Dr. John. You can't open it.
Open it, do you hear me, dear? Open it. Jenny, bring me the axe.
Oh, no, he'll break down that beautiful door. John, dear, the key's down in front of the house under a plantain leaf.
Please, my darling,
It's
please.
down by the front door, John.
Open the door, for heaven's sake, open it.
I can't. The key's downstairs, John. It's under a plantain leaf by the front steps. It's under a plantain leaf, John. Go and see. Go and see. You'll find it if you look. You'll find it. There. He's gone to look. The wallpaper has stopped laughing. The evil thing. Now I can creep slowly, smoothly on the floor. Round and round, round and round and round. And my shoulder just fits into that long smudge on the wall so I can't lose my way. Oh, he's coming back. He's running on the stairs. How astonished he'll be.
Darling. Oh, my dear, what is it? What's happened?
I've got out at last, John.
Out?
Yes, out in spite of you and Jenny. I pulled down the paper. I shook the pattern and pushed and pulled it down. It stuck horribly. But you'll never put me back. You'll never put me back. You're so pale, John. Why do you close your eyes? You watch. Watch how swiftly I creep around in this lovely yellow room. Fainted? Now why should that man have fainted? But he did. And right across my path by the wall, so that I have to creep over him every time. Round and round and round and round and round.
Thank you, Agnes Moorehead, for a magnificent performance. Miss Moorehead will be back in just a moment.
Oh, what a show. That Agnes Moorehead's really some actress. Well, I guess I better head for home and Motherhead.
Okay.
Oh, say, Mr. Martin, can you give me those simple words of yours again? My boy Billy pesters me with slogans.
You bet, Mr. Horton. When you replace your narrow gap spark plugs with a set of wide gap Autolite resistor spark plugs, you can tell the difference in your car. For example, your engine idles smoother. You have better luck with leaner gas mixtures and save gas. And within established limits, you reduce spark plug interference with radio and television reception. So, switch to Autolite because Autolite means resistor spark plugs.
Ignition engineered spark plugs.
Autolite means batteries.
Stay full batteries.
Autolite means ignition system.
The lifeline of your car.
And now here again is Miss Agnes Moorehead.
It's always a great pleasure for me to appear on Suspense. I've thoroughly enjoyed this appearance this evening. And next week, when I turn listener again, I'll join the rest of you to welcome Mr. Charles Lawton's return to these microphones in a role written especially for him. Next week, then, An Honest Man, starring Charles Lawton, on
Suspense.
Agnes Moorehead may soon be seen in the Warner Brothers production, Johnny Belinda. Tonight's suspense play was adapted for radio by Sylvia Richards from an original story by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. Music was composed by Lucien Morawick and conducted by Lud Gluskin. The entire production was under the direction of Anton M. Leader. Next Thursday, same time, you will hear Mr. Charles Lawton in An Honest Man.
This is the Autolite Suspense Show saying good night. Switch to Autolite.
This is CBS, where 99 million people gather every week, the Columbia Broadcasting System.